Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see about the Tudor period. Before going into the video, please like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. In this video, we shall see about the Tudor period. The Tudor period lasted from 1485 to 1603. Henry Tudor, a Welshman who has come from the Lancaster family, married Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a descendant of the Yorkist family. Now, these two families are rival families, but because they married, this resulted in the union between them and they claimed the English throne. Henry Tudor, when he became the king, he assumed the title Henry the Seventh. Now, Henry the Seventh period is considered to be the dividing line between the medieval and modern times in British history. And the Tudor government was an all powerful form of monarchy because it was based on the support of the entire nation, because the nation considered the king as the embodiment of the national spirit and the guardian of the national welfare. But the attitude of the kings were that they ruled England as they liked, but the government was very strong. But even then, there was a Tudor despotism, that is, the dictatorship was there at that time. Now, Henry VII ruled England from 1485 to 1509, and he stabilized the finances of the country, and thereby he made himself powerful and also more powerful by establishing marriage alliances with Spain and Scotland. That is, he got his children married to the prince and princess of these places. His eldest son Arthur married Catherine of Aragon, who was the daughter of King Ferdinand, the most powerful European monarch of that time. And another marriage which was very beneficial to England a century later was the marriage of his eldest daughter Margaret to James IV of Scotland. And it was during Henry's reign that two Italians, John Cabot and John Cabot's son, they discovered Newfoundland and Labrador. But they did not know the value of these places at that time. They discovered and realized about this discovery only at the end of the 16th century. And next came Henry VIII, who ruled England from 1509 to 1547. Henry VIII was only 18 years old when he became the King of England after his father. In his youth, Henry was handsome, religious, and was so very intelligent that he could even speak many European languages. But thing is, he lived a debaucherous life, that is, a life without proper discipline. He was ruthless and he was bigoted, that he was very religious, and he was so bigoted that he beheaded all those who opposed him. And even great people like Bishop Fisher and the famous Renaissance scholar Thomas More were beheaded by him. And he was also a voracious eater. That is, by the end of his life, he was so very fat that he could not even stand upright without someone supporting him. And Henry had married 6 times, and that also in quick succession. First, he married his elder brother's young widow Catherine. That is, his brother died, and therefore his father asked him to marry the elder brother's widow Catherine. And later on, Catherine had to move away because he fell in love with Annie Boleyn, who was a lady in waiting in his court. But that happiness was short lived because he found her to be infidel and he beheaded her. And then for third, he married Jane Seymour. But Jane Seymour died at a very young age itself, and the death was a natural death. And then he married Anne of Cleves. She was a German lady, and the marriage was arranged by Chancellor Thomas Cromwell. But later on, he found that she was ugly looking, and therefore he divorced her and sent her back. But he executed the matchmaker, that is, Chancellor Thomas Cromwell was executed. And next, he married Catherine Howard. Catherine Howard was 30 years younger than him, and even she was executed because of the charges that she had an immoral conduct. And then he married again. This time he married a widow, Catherine Parr, and somehow he lived with her till his life, and she lived after him also. And the most important events during his long reign of 38 years was that England saw the Reformation, which resulted in the division of the people into two groups, namely the Roman Catholics and the Protestants. And the suppression of the monasteries happened during his time, which brought about a great change in the spiritual and temporal life of the people. And a new church called the Church of England, which had the king as a supreme head, also came into existence, because till then all the churches had their head as the Pope. And another important event which happened in his reign was the beginning of Renaissance in England. Sir Thomas More, the first layman to hold the office of Chancellor, wrote the famous Utopia in 1516, and Watt and Surrey, they first introduced into English the Italian sonnet and blank verse. And after him came Edward VI, who ruled from 1547 to 1553, and he was the youngest child of Henry VIII, and he was born to Henry VIII and Jane Seymour. And when he became the king, he was only 10 years old, and therefore his uncle, Duke of Somerset, only was guarding the kingdom. And that time only measures were taken to dissolve all the chantries and pious foundations. And Archbishop Cranmer prepared a prayer book which was used in the newly established National Church. The king died of consumption in 1553, and after him came to the throne Mary Tudor. She ruled England from 1553 to 1558, and she was the eldest child of Henry VIII, and she was born to his first wife Catherine of Aragon. So she was the daughter of Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. She ruled England for a short period. In that time, she tried to revive Roman Catholicism in England, but the people were totally against it. And though the lords and the gentry opposed it, they feared, because when the monasteries were dissolved, the land all was given to them. They bought the lands at a very low price, but they thought if she is going to bring back Roman Catholicism, then they'll have to give back those lands. And so they were also against it. And Mary died of dropsy in 1558. And after came to the throne Elizabeth, who ruled England from 1558 to 1603. Elizabeth was popularly called the Virgin Queen of England, and she was the daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. And she ruled England for nearly 50 years, and she made efforts to settle the religious issues which were started by her father. And Church of England was started by Henry VIII, but it was Elizabeth who established this Church of England, the strong foundation in England. And it was decided that the same prayer book should be used in all the churches in England, and preaching and prayer were done in English, and this was done by educated but married clergy, and these clergy had to live in close touch with the people, and church attendance was made compulsory on all Sundays, and other days it was obligatory. And if they do not attend the church on Sundays, that is, the defaulters had to pay a fine. And two sections of people kept themselves away from this church settlement, but they had to suffer for that. And these two sections were the Roman Catholics and the Puritans. Her long reign was a period of tremendous progress in all walks of life, and great literary personalities like Edmund Spenser, William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, Ben Jonson, George Chapman, and Philip Sidney, they produced their masterpieces. And Fairy Queen, which is the greatest work of Spenser and the first epic poem in modern English, was published in 2 installments during her reign. And Shakespeare wrote many of his plays, including Hamlet, in the lifetime of Queen Elizabeth. And she also held Shakespeare in high esteem, and particularly she loved his characterization of Falstaff. And tradition says that Shakespeare wrote The Merry Wives of Windsor in order to please the Queen. And it was a glorious period of maritime enterprise and foreign trade. Great seafaring men like Sir Walter Raleigh, his half-brother Sir Humphrey Gilbert, Sir John Hawkins, Martin Frobisher, and Sir Francis Drake all undertook their heroic adventures. And the most important thing which boosted England's maritime reputation was the victory over the Spanish Armada in 1588. Queen Elizabeth died in 1603, and this is what happened in the Tudor period in England. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. It will be useful to others. Thank you.